This right here is the Legend Tomahawk X saddle by Legend Saddle Gear, a relatively new company to the saddle hunting industry. They came to the market somewhere around November of 2022. As you can see, it's a very unique single panel design. It's made right here in the United States of America, and I'm going to take a little bit of time. We are going to break this saddle down, cover its features, cover the pros, some of the cons, and we're going to wrap up a review here today on Platinum Pursuit Outdoors. About 5 or 6 months ago, I saw an Instagram reel from a fellow YouTuber and a friend, Matt, over at Matt Hunt's Adventure, and he had done an Instagram reel on the Tomahawk X saddle. And that was the first time that I had seen this saddle or heard about this saddle. And when I saw his reel, it caught my attention because, as you can see here, this is a single panel design saddle, but it is very uniquely designed. This is the only saddle that looks like this right here. And I kind of like that. There's a lot of saddles that have flooded the market. And if I'm going to do a saddle review, it's going to be on a unique saddle that offers unique features or specs such as the Tomahawk X saddle. So I reached out to Steve over at Legend Saddle Gear, and he said, man, I'll send you one of these saddles over so you can check it out and then you can put together a review. I was supposed to have this done sometime around late September, October, and my fall season just got away with me, absolutely slammed. And so here I am, December 20th, I think it is, somewhere around there, just now putting this review together. But having said that, because of the delay, I hunted all season predominantly out of this Tomahawk X saddle. And because of that, I feel like I have a very good overview and a very good review. Lots of information that I can provide, well over 80 to 90, probably topping 100 hours that I have sat and I've hunted in this saddle. So what I want to do is I want to cover all the specs, the features, as I've already mentioned, and we're going to go over them one by one and take a deep dive into the Tomahawk X saddle. The Tomahawk X has a lot of great features packed into this saddle. We'll start off by just pointing out these Lineman loops. They're very open, they're big, they're rigid, and I've had absolutely zero problem in the dark trying to connect to the Lineman's loops, so I do like that. You'll notice as you go to put the saddle on that you are dealing with ADF Raptor style buckles. Now I will point out that these buckles were a little bit stiffer than I remember in some of the other saddles that I've used, and of course I've been used to the rope bridges from Custom Gear Modifications and then also the Latitude Outdoors, but these are a little bit more stiff to slide the webbing through these. They do adjust, they're fully adjustable on both sides. Also, one of the benefits of that is whenever I would put them on and I would crank them down, I really didn't have any slipping of the webbing as I have had in other saddles. So the whole saddle sag, and I get it, they say put it above your belt, but not all buckles are created equally, and you can put the saddle above your belt and the buckle itself will loosen material, especially if you have your dump pouches full and stuff like that. So I did notice that even though these are a little bit stiff, once you cinch them down, they're not going to budge at all. I want to show you personally how I tighten and loosen the waist belt on the saddle. I had mentioned that for me, the buckles were kind of stiff. What I have found that works very well, I got it on loose here, so I'm at the car, I'm getting ready to put the saddle on, and now I need to tighten it down. What I do if I want to adjust and pull towards the left is I simply grab my Lineman's loop here, and I grab the tail end, and I pull them together like that, and that will cinch that right up. If I want to go the other direction, I'll just grab and pull. To loosen, you just do it like you would any other one. You just grab the backside and you pull. But again, simply what I have done is I hold on to the Lineman's loop like that, and I'll just simply pull, and we can tighten that right up. In regards to the leg straps, they are completely removable. I always like that feature just because not every time do I want to use my leg straps, and there are times where I do want to use leg straps if I'm one stick climbing or something like that, and I've got to solely rely on the saddle to hold my weight as I go off my sticks or something like that. And so removable leg straps, I like that. I will point out that the buckles on the leg straps are I think they called it a high density polymer or a high strength polymer. So they're a plastic buckle. I have not had any problems with them. I have used them. And what they also provide in the packaging with the saddle are these aluminum G-hooks. So if for whatever reason you want to use the plastic buckles and the leg straps, you can do that. They work fine. But if something happens and you break them, you do have replacement aluminum G-hooks. I did not use these at all. There was no need to, because I was using the ones that were provided. So there is an option, okay? They do send the G-hooks for the leg straps as well. But again, removable leg straps, they work fine. Everything's good, but just keep in mind they are a plastic buckle. No problems with them, but in case you do not like that personally, you do have an option. You'll also notice that along the top side of the saddle, the top band, you do have your traditional standard Molle Webbing, and then they also incorporated a little bit looser style Molle Webbing down on the very bottom. And you can see right here, I have taken one of their quick connect accessories and I've put that on the saddle here. Now I do have the Saddle Goat Snake Ascender up top. What I was doing was I was running two different sets, and so if I wanted to run the X-Wing, I had that attached, and then if I wanted to run, I believe it was the Wild Edge platform that I was using, I had it hooked up to here. So you can hook up any accessories. For those of you that do a lot of the one-stick climbing or rappel and you use the figure 8, you now have places to attach extra carabiners, things like that. And then you have these vertical Molle Webbings on both sides as well. And then also here, as you can see, there's Molle Webbing. So this saddle is completely equipped with more than enough Molle Webbing for any of the accessories that you're going to use. So that's a nice feature and a nice touch as well. Now the bridge loops, they function very nicely. They are rigid. They're not as rigid as some, but they're also not as soft as others that I have used. I've had absolutely no concerns, no problems at all with the Lineman's loops and also these bridge loops. One thing I do like that Steve has done over at Legend Saddle Gear is instead of a 3-wrap prusik, he's only done a 2-wrap prusik, and with the softness, but yet the rigidity of this bridge loop, you're able to use a 2-wrap prusik, and it's able to bite down on those bridge loops. And then when you go to break them, you're not fighting 3 wraps, you're only fighting 2, and then so you're able to adjust the bridge loops fairly nicely. There was a couple times where I just kept them in the same place for forever, throughout several hunts, and then tried to adjust them. I had to really break my weight and then kind of flex them and then move them. But again, you don't want them to go anywhere, and these bridge loops, they hold. The prusik and the bridge loop combination, they hold. You don't have to worry about any slipping at all, and then they're also very easy to adjust when you want to go and shift your weight. My favorite feature on the Tomahawk X saddle is the bridge system. The bridge system is a 3-component bridge system. It is essentially the same as the Triad bridge, but it's not completely made of all AM steel. What you have is on each side of your bridge loops, you have these continuous loops of AM steel that are attached via a prusik. This is only a 2-loop prusik here, attached on the bridge loops via this prusik, and then it also attaches to the main bridge here via this Swabish hitch or Swabish hitch, however you say it. And this is a 5-loop Swabish hitch right here. And the reason I like that is because you can adjust it from both the right and the left. But I have found this is just me personally, I have found that AM steel on Oplux, or in this case ResTech, I believe, AM steel on AM steel, you can adjust it, but it has the tendency to kind of bite and the adjustments are harder. But AM steel on Oplux or ResTech, it just seems to break and to slide and to adjust so much easier, and I love that. Also, they have added right here off of the bridge loop, they have added a tender, and I'm telling you, you can have your weight in it and go to adjust it, grab the knot, and you can easily adjust your weight by just pulling on it. And then also to lengthen your bridge, you just take your fingers and you grab this, and you can even have some weight in it. This is a super adjustable bridge system. I really like it. This is probably my favorite style of bridge system. We originally seen this on the Latitude Outdoors method, and I absolutely love that they have since gone to the all AM steel, and that's not my favorite, but it is what it is. So I really like this bridge system, and of course we'll show you some close-ups of how this guy works in action, but I love the bridge system on the Tomahawk X saddle. Let's go ahead and jump right into transport mode. I have the saddle on, I'm at my truck, I've tightened the waist belt. Now I can walk in just like this. I'll take my leg straps, I'll go ahead and I'll buckle them in, and I can walk in just like that, and it works fine, and I have done that. You know, my waist belt is above my pant line, it's not going to go anywhere. But then again, with single panel saddles with a large profile, what you have is all of this material, and a lot of times when you're walking and your leg straps are there, it kind of gives you that diaper feel. And so one of the things that you can do to remedy that problem with this particular saddle is, once your waist belt is tight, just reach down with the back, grab it like so, and just invert that saddle, the bottom portion, like you see like that, fold it up, and then with your leg straps, you can simply, on each side, you can just come over the top, just so they're not dangling, and you can put your leg straps in like that in transport mode. And then with the belt now, or the bridge, I've already done it. You'll just take it, you'll cinch it down as much as you can. Now for me, it doesn't cinch tight with the waist size, and I'm perfectly okay with that, because I think those larger bridge loops that come out in front of me more aid in comfort. But I'll take that, I'll just wrap them once around the bridge loops, and you can do whatever you want. This is what I do, and I'll just simply pull that tight, and you can see it's taken a rather large profile, and it's really minimized that size as you're walking in the transport mode. And then of course, once you get to the tree, just undo those bridge, that little bridge knot. And this, again, why I like this bridge, simply grab those swabish hitches and you're all the way out. You know, very adjustable. So that's just an idea, something to keep in mind when thinking about transport mode or getting to your tree or back to the truck from the tree. Now I just took off my dump pouch that I had on one of the sides here, just so I could point out the design feature of this saddle. This is where this saddle is uniquely and solely a Legend saddle gear design. And one of the things you'll notice, the first thing you'll notice when you pull it out of the box, is a lot of the saddles, you can just open them and they're flat. You can lay them flat down on a table, and then when you put them on, they wrap around you. Well, this particular saddle was built with a massive cupping design, and you can see that. So the back right here is pretty much flat, and you literally have those straps wrapping all the way around. Now at first I'm like, well, this is going to be problematic, because either this or this is going to hit my iliac crest or my ball joint of my hip. And so I was pretty skeptical at first, but at the same time, this is a unique design, so I wanted to give this a try. And you notice just how much it cups. If I was to take this saddle and I was to hold it like that, you can see that cupping design. And what this has done was essentially make this Legend Tomahawk saddle here one of the most comfortable sitting saddles that I have sat in. As a matter of fact, I think for me personally, I have fine-tuned this saddle for my style. And man, I can just climb up into a tree now. I know where my spots are, my bridge loops, my bridge length, and I can just sit down and immediately I can achieve comfort. But again, that is due to that cupping design that is built right into it. And also in regards to sitting, you'll notice that this is probably, I haven't measured it, like 13 inches, actually it's probably about 15 plus inches, right? So you have a lot of material. And what that allows you to do is, when you're in that sitting mode, you can slide this down or you can slide this up. If you need a little bit more back support, just pull it up. If you want it down, you know, if one of these straps are connecting with the ball joint of your hip or your iliac crest, you can just maneuver it just ever so slightly. And with this design of essentially, and forgive these metal buckles on my table if that's making noise, but essentially with this design, you have this top panel right here, and then you have the bottom panel. When you make an adjustment on your bridge loops, you're not just making a one strap adjustment on the top or the bottom, you're making what Steve calls a regional adjustment, and you can really feel that. So if I'm leaning and I want more pressure at the top, when I go to slide my bridge up the bridge loop a little bit, you're not just feeling it here, but you're feeling this whole region of the saddle you're feeling that shift. And so that also allows for a more fine-tuned adjustment and a little bit more support, I would say, than just having to adjust from the top or the bottom strap. The absolute number one requirement of any saddle that I use is, can you achieve comfort? And with the Tomahawk X saddle, the answer is absolutely 100%. I can achieve comfort in this saddle. I don't care how many bells and whistles a saddle has. If you cannot get it to be comfortable for your body style, then it becomes the most terrible saddle, especially when you're hunting long hours. But with the Legend Tomahawk saddle, I have been able to achieve comfort in both the leaning position and the sitting position. Now, in the leaning position, I had to work at achieving comfort a lot more than the sitting position. This saddle absolutely excels for me in the sitting position. Once I figured out where I needed to be, how long my bridge needed to be, where my tether height was, all of that stuff, I could climb up a tree, get to those settings, and I can kneel into the tree and find absolute comfort. And so in the sitting position, this excels. Now, in the leaning position, for me personally, I have found that my body style, while I'm leaning, likes a smaller profile. This is on the larger side of a profile, which again, with the cupping design, works amazing for sitting. But when I was leaning, what would happen is this bottom strap right here would dig into the back of my legs. And what I have found that had remedied that problem was, and I don't know what sit I was in, but I was documenting everything that I was experiencing, how many hours I was sitting, and all the way through October, I was documenting what I did to fix what. And where I ended up landing with this saddle in the sitting position was I would simply reach behind me and I would grab this bottom portion right here. Now, let me just try to go ahead and fold it up on itself, but I'd grab the bottom and break my weight, and I'd fold that bottom part, that bottom region up like you see right here. And what that has done was it minimized the overall profile, and it took this bottom strap off of the leg where it was creating hot spots. But then it also took the strap here and it put it in between this top strap of the bottom region and then the bottom strap of the top region. And so that would go and it would sit in between there like so. And when it would do that, I found that it gave me a rather surprising, comfortable leaning saddle. And with all of that support there, again, it just surprised me at how much it changed. It took all that pressure off the bottom, and then it gave me additional support when I folded it up. So if you're running leg loops, you can just loosen them up a little bit more and then re-strap them in. But I have found, for me, and this is just something I've learned, that by reaching down and inverting that bottom portion and putting that strap in between the bottom strap of the top section and the top strap of the bottom section, by putting that there, it turned this into a very comfortable leaning saddle. So just keep that in mind if you're a leaner or if you're predominantly a sitter and then you want to go into the leaning position, there is an option to achieve maximum comfort leaning. Let's talk about the sitting position. This saddle for me excels in the sitting position. Its shape, its design, everything about it is great for the saddle hunter who likes to sit. There were a few things that I did have to adjust to achieve some comfort. One of them, the first thing, was when I went to sit down in the sitting position, I found that loosening the waist belt really helped out. As a matter of fact, I was talking with Steve, the owner, and he was the one that suggested making sure that I loosened the waist belt, in which I did, and that definitely helps, because if you sit down and that waist belt is still tight, it's going to naturally pull this top strap inward, and that's going to dig into your love handles or your side or your iliac crest. So one of the things I did right away was I loosened the waist belt. I also played around a lot with my bridge length, and I found that in this saddle, I liked and I could use a long bridge, but I also liked a shorter bridge. And there's a quick video that I have where I was just showing reference. I was in my carabiner and I took my thumb and my pinky and I just measured between the carabiner and where these Swabish loops were, and you can see in that video that that distance right there was where I was, and I found the reason I took that video was because I found that, man, this feels rather comfortable with the shorter bridge. And I don't know, with the shorter bridge and the fact that this is designed to wrap around you, it kind of just squeezed me in and held me, and it like cradled my body and everything, and I found that that was really comfortable. Also, in the sitting position, I like to have the bridge, excuse me, on my bridge loops adjusted just below the center line, so where it's pulling from the bottom more than it's pulling from the top or the middle. So just below the center of my bridge loops, I put that bridge, and man, when you do that, you can just feel this whole bottom region just kind of cradling you and holding you nicely. And then, of course, the last thing that I did for me personally in this saddle was I ran a lower tether height. I have found that in all of my saddles like this, the traditional saddles, if I start my tether off somewhere between the bottom of my chin to my collarbone, somewhere in here, that is the sweet spot for me personally. If I go higher than that, I find that I have a harder time adjusting the comfort because everything's pulling straight up. You know, when I'm leaning, especially when I'm sitting, if I have a high tether, it just wants to pull from that bottom, and then I have to exaggerate where I want these. For me, when it's below my chin to the collarbone, just little movements go a long way with a lower tether for me. So these are some ideas that you might be able to start with. Just run the lower tether, maybe mess around with the shorter bridge and try that out. But then also put the bridge on the bridge loops just below that center mark, and you might find that you can achieve comfort rather quickly in the sitting position. And I know every body style is different. These are just some pointers that I found for myself. In every one of my reviews, I talk about the pros and the cons. And of course, all of this is just my personal experience and my personal opinion in regards to whatever it is that I am reviewing. In regards to the pros, this saddle has a lot of pros. It's feature packed. It has my favorite bridge. It excels in comfort in the sitting position. Steve over at Legend Saddle Gear, he has accessorized it. Has a nice one-stick climbing dump pouch, has good dump pouches, quality accessories, made in the US of A, you know, still reasonably priced at $295. So there's a lot of pros here. Originally, when I got this, one of the cons to me was like, why did we use the plastic leg buckle straps even to begin with? And I was kind of shaking my head about that, and I actually text Steve, and I'm like, man, what? Just talk to me a little bit about this idea about the plastic leg buckles. He's like, well, along with the saddle, you should have gotten an additional aluminum G-hooks that if you don't like that you can easily replace them. So immediately I looked into the box and I didn't realize I overlooked it. They were there, and so that took that con out of the picture for me. If you need help in replacing those, essentially all you do is you unthread the male buckle part, and you thread the G-hook onto it, and then you just cut the plastic female clips, and then it fits right on. It fits nice and tight, super easy. There's a video on his website. So that was a con, and then after I realized that he had provided the aluminum G-hooks, I'm like, okay, that makes me feel better. And although in my mind there's nothing wrong with the plastic, in the back of my mind it's like, well, what happens if I you know, break them or something like that? So that's why it was initially a con for me. But again, with the provided G-hooks, that's a non-issue to me. The absolute biggest con for me on this saddle would be the waist buckle and how hard it is to just make your adjustments. That was the thing that kind of stood out to me. There was times where I'm hunting, I'm at the truck, I'm trying to adjust it, and I'm having a hard time. Or if I was in the saddle and I put on a bigger coat and I had to unbuckle my waist belt to slide the coat down in between the saddle, and then I had to loosen that waist buckle again, which I did several times. You can see even in the little B-roll videos that I did, there's some where I'm in early season with a lightweight long sleeve shirt, and then I had my biggest winter coat on, so to speak, when I was in Iowa. And so, you know, just how hard that buckle was to adjust. I did find that little trick where I can grab my lineman's loop and adjust it, but that to me, honestly, was the biggest con. Next to that con would have been the fact that in the leaning position, I struggled with that bottom strap on the back of my legs, right? But once I figured out that I could simply flip that up and it actually provided surprising support to me and made the leaning position very comfortable, I was like, okay, well, that's pretty rad. That's pretty slick. So that was kind of eliminated as well. But again, a lot of the pros here, lots of Molle Webbing straps. There's just a lot going on with this saddle. And to me, I like the fact that Steve thought outside the box. He came up with his own unique design, and you can just tell it's designed to cup and to cradle a sitter who is saddle hunting. And so good job on that, Steve. But that is just some of my feedback in regards to some of the pros and some of the cons. All right, guys, there's the breakdown of the Tomahawk X saddle by Legend Saddle Gear. There's a lot to like about this particular saddle. The biggest thing for me is, does it excel in the comfort rating? And I would say yes, you can achieve comfort in this saddle, especially in the sitting position, very, very easily. And I have enjoyed hunting out of it for the bulk of my hunting season here in 2023. As always, if you have any questions, something I did not cover, please drop the questions in the comment section below, and I'll do everything I can to answer your questions. And until next time, good luck to you guys and Merry Christmas.